First of all, I want to welcome Brian Hedden, who is our director, producer. Brian has been described as activist, journalist, badass. He has an awareness of all the darkness in the world, yet chooses to keep fighting in the light. I think that's very appropriate. Jessica Dougherty is the producer for this film. A couple of Jessica's previous works are Thank You for Supporting the Arts and Rockin' the Kremlin. She says, living in times of emergency, artists must create work that signals through the flames. Thank you, Jessica. I'm going to let everyone else up here introduce themselves and tell you a little bit about what their roles were in the film. Brian, can you start out for us?
I feel good with the introduction you gave me. I'm going to save time and pass it along.
I'm Patricia Garcia Nelson. I'm Diego's mom.
My name is Ann Lee Foster. I cried a lot in the film.
I'm Russell Mendel. I cried a lot watching the film. I always cry when Tricia speaks. She's and Therese and Ann Lee, and Micah, just such incredible movement leaders that I have a chance to work with.
Ditto, and I'm a teacher, Therese Gilbert, and it's lovely to see all of you and all the old friends again tonight.
I'm Micah Parkin, Executive Director of 350 Colorado and a founder of that, and we were very active in the campaign. I was also on the founding board of Colorado Rising, and 350 Colorado Action, our C4 organization, thankfully had applied for the license to gather signatures, so when all of the companies bailed at the end, we were able to pay people to gather signatures, so that was very handy.
Hi, I'm Julia. I also cried a lot in the film. And oh yes, there are still wells at Bella Romero, in case that wasn't clear. And I notarized a lot of petitions on the back of my Prius.
I'm Lauren Swain. I collected signatures in every single one of those communities after Longmont and on 112, and I'm so honored to have worked with all these people and with Brian on parts of this film. And thank you all so much for being here tonight.
My name's Brian Loma. I started as the first paid petition gatherer hired by Direct Action Partners. By the end, I ran 7 statewide offices, and I still carry the checks of my unpaid employees.
My name's Shelby War, and I managed the Boulder office and helped collect a lot of signatures, and I'd love to get some of my people those checks. I still have their phone numbers.
Thank you all for coming tonight. Before I take some questions from the audience, I just wanted to shout out some of the things that really jumped out at me from this film. Frackosaurus rex, yes, I can understand that. No other industry can get that close to kids. Wow, that was a revelation to me. All the science, all the facts and figures, all the human stories, just woven together so beautifully. And I have to say, the photography and the music, all of it just made such a great package. So thank you so much. This is a wonderful film. I also love the Little Earth Guardians. Very cute. Should have run them more nationally there, I think. Okay, so questions from the audience, please.
Before we get started with questions, I'd like to invite everyone in the room to raise their hands if you carried a petition for 112 or volunteered for the campaign. And I'd also like to give you some news if you haven't heard already. A few days ago, a bill was introduced in the Colorado legislature to end fracking statewide by 2030. It's currently in the legislature, still waiting to get on the calendar. It's SB 24-159. Please write to your legislators, tell them to support this bill. Write the sponsors, Senator Sonia Jaques Lewis, and tell them thank you for having the courage to do what communities have been asking for decades.
I'd like to say that I and maybe many of us in this room were in that film when you showed clips of downtown Capitol and the gatherings we had down there. And I'd also like to say that we have the power to stop buying gasoline by insulating our homes and changing over to heat pumps. And that's just my statement I want to say, that we do have the power to stop buying that product.
Yeah, I enjoyed the emotional part of the film where, you know, she was saying, are the kids safe? You know, those kind of things. Because I often do canvassing and work with voters, and I have an engineering background, so I tend to be sometimes more on the thinking side of it than on the emotional or spiritual, you know, kind of protective like a mom, you know, level. And so I so much appreciated that about the film. So I'm just wondering the status as far as, well, I live in Broomfield. Like, are they approving more wells in Broomfield? And, you know, when will the ones that had been approved previously, let's say 10 years ago, when will they finish? And where exactly are we at with some of this? Because I'm not sure.
Yeah, I can answer that. So right now, we're working on policy statewide to, you know, we're getting as close as possible as we can to the end of fossil fuels. Right now, the COGCC that was mentioned in the film is no longer the COGCC. It is now the ECMC, the Office, or the Energy of Carbon Management Commission. And so right now, we have seen a decrease in the permitting. However, we still are not seeing operations stopped from violators. In fact, since December, I personally witnessed about 6 different episodes of emissions at Balo Romero Academy, and we're talking multiple times a week, because the thing is when it's cold enough, you don't need the outdoor cameras to be able to see all the emissions. And so we are at this point where things are starting to change in the commission. However, change is slow, and we don't have time to wait. They are still approving big cap projects, which include multiple permits within one large application, and that's like the next big fight. Right now, if you guys live in Aurora, please check out Save the Aurora Reservoir. They're fighting the they're fighting an installation of fracking being put next to the Aurora Reservoir, next to homes, next to community members, and so there are a lot of fights around the state that are still happening. We have been able to mitigate some of that damage through the different regulation changes that we've made at the ECMC with the increased setbacks. Right now we're working on cumulative impacts, which means that the commission has to consider impacts from oil and gas at a larger scale when they're approving permits. We're working at the Colorado Air Pollution Control Division to address permitting on that side, because guess what, guys? The state of Colorado gives companies from oil and gas, manufacturing, you name it, the state of Colorado gives out permits to pollute. They call them air emissions permits, and they're constantly giving those out. We're working on different there's just so much done. There's just still so much that needs to be done. I feel like I'm rambling now. Next question, please.
Hey, you guys are all so inspiring. Thank you so much. This was absolutely incredible. Brian, especially just the work that, and the producer back there, I'm sorry, I forget your name. The film itself was amazing, the way you put it together. Of course, we want to support anti-fracking initiatives. How can we specifically support this film to get every person in Colorado to see it and hopefully join you in the fight?
Thanks so much for asking. Yeah, this is the world premiere, but we have a huge community tour that we're starting to plan. So we have like about 10 screenings that we're working with co-hosts. So yeah, we want to do 50 screenings this year. And we can't just do it ourselves. It's not, there's, because there's a lot of communities that want to see this film, and we want to network and collaborate with other people to co-host. So if you or someone you have a climate group at your school, your church, your neighborhood, you can do a 5-person screening in your home, or we can do a 30-person, 50-person, 100-person somewhere in your community. So yeah, spread the word, and on the website you can contact me to host a screening, and we'll get it going. Thank you for asking.
It's coming to Greeley on Earth Day.
Oh yeah.
This should just be fun, so you ought to come watch what that scene will be like when it shows in Greeley. And as we know.
Yeah, if you also on my website, frackingthesystem.com/watch, you can see what we have got lined up already. You can also sign up for updates when we update that list. Thanks for asking.
Is there another question? Way over here?
Climate Lobby Day at the Capitol, March 1st, do you any good?
Yeah, Climate Lobby Day, March 1st, next Friday. It will be hugely important. Do you want to speak?
Yeah, so we're hosting the 9th annual Climate Lobby Day next Friday. And want to encourage everybody, please, please, please come out. Our goal is to have 150 people there. We've got 130 RSVP'd so far. And so we need you. Our stretch goal was 200, so help us get there. And there is a bill that Patricia mentioned just a minute ago, SB 24-159, which is nicknamed the Phase Out and Cleanup Bill. There's a ballot initiative, which Brian touched on at the end of his film, that is the latest ballot initiative, which seeks to phase out all new permits for new fracking by the year 2030. And this totally aligns with what climate scientists around the world are saying, is that we cannot continue to bring on new fossil fuels and expect to stay below 1.5 to 2 degrees Celsius temperature rise. They say no new period from henceforth that we're going to stay below 1.5 to 2 degrees Celsius temperature rise globally. This ballot initiative is a little modest compared to that because it would phase it out by 2030. Nonetheless, you can imagine the force with which we are facing the oil and gas industry. They immediately have launched a huge series of commercials around fracking is not a dirty word. How many people of y'all have heard that commercial already? Yeah. So we're already facing that. There's a lot of money that's got to be raised. So in the interim, until we can raise the money to run that bill, and we're still trying, and we urge everybody, if you can also give to that, safeandhealthyco.org, safeandhealthyco.org. You can give there to that ballot initiative campaign. In the meantime, as Patricia mentioned, we've got a couple of very courageous legislators who are running a bill that would do the same thing, phase out fracking, all new permits by 2030, and it would clean up the mess. It would force those companies to clean up the mess that they're leaving behind, all the orphaned wells that are leaking and that otherwise we, the taxpayers, have to pay for. So it would also require them, even if they sold their assets off to some little company that was expected to go bankrupt, it would hold them accountable and liable for that cleanup mess. So this is a really important bill for us to try to get passed. And so Climate Lobby Day next Friday, not only are we going to be rallying for that and some other really, really important bills, 3 ozone bills, some other really important bills, that's going to be a top bill, and there's going to be a press conference that day at noon at the Capitol in the West Foyer. And we would love for all of y'all to come and show your support for these legislators who are being so bold that day and help to help this bill succeed. One last thing on that. It's unfortunately already, we're seeing politics at play. It's been sent to a committee it's the Ag Committee. This bill is first going to the Ag Committee. Why is it? I don't know. It's not an ag thing, but whatever. It's been sent there, and potentially because the chair of that committee, his name is Dylan Roberts. He's District 8. If any of y'all know folks from over on the West Slope in his district, please talk to your friends. Tell everybody to be taking action on this bill. And just how you can do that is go to 350colorado.org, and you'll see sign up for Climate Lobby Day, and also on our blog we have all the different ways you can support that bill. So sorry to ramble on that, but I just wanted to make sure everybody has the resources, 350colorado.org for that, or if you want to support the ballot initiative, safeandhealthyco.org. Thanks. And just want to say again, thanks to Brian so much for all his amazing work on this film and elevating this issue like nobody else has been able to do.
And I definitely want to impress my boss, Ian Thomas DeFoya, sitting in the audience there. Other ways that y'all can support the movement, I currently have a day job with Green Latinos Colorado. We're in the middle of our Take on Toxics tour, and so we're trying to visit as many counties in Colorado as we can. Collectively, we've been able to visit all 64 counties, but the only way that we can build community is by going over and over again. So if you want us to come visit you, just find us after the show.
Thank you.
Hey guys, so obviously thank you Brian, because this film is like such a powerful film, and it's obvious from watching it also the impact that it's had on each and every one of you guys. So my question for you guys is, what was the thing that you took away from this, or what were some of the learnings that you guys had coming out of this, from this experience?
So many things. Thanks for asking. I mean, I could write a book. It took me 6 years since I started to get to this point. And I guess I just learned how to persevere and be strong. Because like after I shot all the footage, I had no idea how to edit it. Like I think I edited Teresa's interview and I was like, okay, that's like a 5-minute piece, you know, like what am I gonna do now? So I took about a year off between figuring it out. And so, and then I just decided that I could never do anything until I finished this film. Like, I was like, anything else in my life is not gonna like feel like I can actually do it until this film is done. So it just was like this responsibility I feel like I had. So now, I feel like I can do a lot of hard things. And that was what I took away. Thanks.
With your perseverance and dedication and just outright understanding of what is working in this world and what doesn't work. And the differentiation is really clear. This needs to get out to so many more people for the fact that this is so many corollaries about what's going on in the world right now. We're given a line of BS that nobody can relate to, but you guys come through and understand and clarify how this really works behind the scenes. I'm so disappointed in the political process, but in effect, you guys rise above that to make it happen. So I give you major kudos for making it happen.
I think we have a question in the back here. Go ahead.
Do you want to finish, though, answering other things you've learned before?
I feel like your question, I really want to answer that, because I'm a teacher, and I do think, yes, you have to be aware, you have to do your research, know the process, keep poking at the bear from all angles. But ultimately, what I loved, Brian, is that you ended with Ann saying it really is about love. And love is what changes things. I know that sounds sappy, but when you act with passionate intentions and caring intentions, that does change things. It will change the world. It's love. It's loving and acting with compassion. And I loved, Anne, that you ended the film with that.
I concur, and I would like to also say that if you keep telling your story over and over and over again to people, you're going to find eventually there's resonance that is created with that. And I know, Therese, you've been telling your story for many, many years, and you too, Patricia, like just like the perseverance that this community has shown, especially folks in Weld County, is so inspiring. Because at first, I know there were times where it felt like you were just talking to the wind. It was like no one was listening. And now look at all of you here inspired by their stories. And I know you're going to go talk to other people about what you've seen tonight. And you might host a screening and invite other people to see what you've seen. And it makes such a huge difference. This movement came from just a handful of people telling their stories. And look what it's grown to, and it's continuing to grow.
Thank you.
I'll just add one more thing to that. I think I love what everyone said so far, and there's the scene where we're all standing in a circle right before signature turn-in, and Dan Leftwich, who's an attorney and also a dear mentor of mine, is saying a prayer, and he's talking about the universe organizing towards a higher order. And I think that was really like the deepest takeaway for me was I had such an attachment to the direct outcome of winning that ballot initiative, and it was all-consuming and devastating when it didn't happen. But we really did see so much come out of that we could have never imagined, and it did lay a foundation for so many other people to come in and continue that work. And I think that really is ultimately what we want to do. It's not about accomplishing what we have in our mind, but it's just continuing to move the ball forward, to continuing that arc of morality, as Martin Luther King Jr. references. And so this experience really taught me that, and I continue to see that play out in what's happening even now with this current legislation that's being brought forward and the cumulative impacts ruling. And of course, I have a lot of ideas about how all of those should be, and most of them are not how they're coming to fruition. But it is still progress, and we can still be proud of that.
Y'all know I like to tell a story, pero esta se les digo en español porque aquí está mi mamá. Entonces, cuando yo tenía como 13, 15 años, yo le decía a mi mamá, ay, mis hermanas nunca me ayudan cuando yo quiero algo, pero cuando ellas quieren algo, ahí estoy. Y le dije, yo no les voy a ayudar. Y ella me dice, no. Dice, si vas a hacer algo, lo vas a hacer con cariño y lo vas a hacer sin esperar que te den nada de regreso. Y siempre me dijo que si tú puedes ayudar, que tienes que ayudar a la gente porque eso es lo correcto. Mi mamá es tan buena persona que una vez una de las trabajadoras que estaba con ella necesitaba un lugar para quedarse y mi mamá la invitó. No teníamos cuartos, pero mi mamá la invitó y se quedó en la cama de mi mamá con ella. Entonces, de allí es donde yo saqué todo mi coraje y todo mi amor por lo que yo hago. Entonces, gracias, mamá.
I have a question.
I was just reminded of something that I really learned from this movie that I actually really wanted to say about the arc of the universe bending towards. Hello. Okay. Yeah, there's this famous quote. It says, "The arc of the universe is long, but it bends towards justice," and that's something that's stuck with me. But I want to revise it, if I could be so bold. Is that it doesn't just bend; people bend it. We need to bend it. It doesn't bend on its own, and that's what I wanted to show in the film. It takes a lot of hard work, but we can bend it.
Has the harassment and intimidation continued, and how are you all being supported through that, if so?
Thank you.
You're asking about the harassment and intimidation. So there wasn't a lot of support through it. I think a lot of us actually suffered pretty dramatically, mentally and emotionally. I know I had pretty long-lasting impacts to my nervous system as a result. And I ended up actually testifying in a congressional hearing last fall about the disinformation tactics and the harassment and all of the undermining that the oil and gas industry used against us, and how they used marketing agencies as a way to target activists, and that's a way to cover it up and circumvent any kind of political funding oversight. And so that was an interesting experience. Lauren Boebert and Matt Gaetz grilled me pretty hard. It's kind of strange because I'm also in her district.
Not anymore.
Not anymore because she left, right? But yeah, so there was some on a personal level, not much. On a larger scale, there has been some federal attention put on it from this congressional hearing. That report, there's a couple of lawsuits that have used that as evidence in their fight. But yeah, I think it had some pretty severe impacts for a lot of people, myself included. And that's the goal, right? The idea is to weaken you in every way possible and to break you down. And they're pretty talented at it.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, at least for me, in terms of support, it's the people here and it's the people out there. Like, trauma bonding is no joke, but like this community is so strong, and like these people are so strong, and we have each other's backs, like beyond this ballot initiative, and that's not nearly enough to, you know, heal all of us completely, but you know, that is like the thing that I take forward out of this is these relationships and these people, and that gives me a lot of hope and a lot of healing. So thank you to you all.
Love. That was what kept us going, right? The one thing I missed in the footage was I used to yell, "I love you," at my people and community all the time, and we lifted each other up. It didn't matter if a person was a volunteer or paid in any other sense. We carried love for one another, for our planet, for the mission. We carry that today, right? As I see so many people I haven't seen for years, you know, the first thing is that emotion. But in the midst of it, having each other's backs, not being alone, knowing that, you know, through the power of togetherness, we can overcome. And yeah, that's what kept us going.
I also want to say, I think you saw the response from the community to that harassment. That was when everyone heard what was happening in the community, that's when just the floodgates opened of, we couldn't just constant people pouring into the office to collect signatures. It had the complete opposite effect of what they intended. It got people mobilized, wanting to contribute, because everyone in this community had each other's backs, and we need to continue that.
Just a little example of that. When we would collect signatures down in the center of Greeley on Friday Fest, and these kids would show up with their big banners, and before I'd go down, I'd get on Facebook, and you know, Teacher Tribe, if there are teachers out there, Teacher Tribe, and I would say, hey, buddies, show up, line up, sign my petition. So there would be a line of teachers and friends getting ready when these young men were over here with their banners signing. I loved it. So it's exactly what you said, Russell. They came to our defense because they could see we're being bullied. It was out and out. Having to call the police because they were screaming at us. And remember, your right to petition is part of the First Amendment. It's not just free speech. You have a right to petition. And they would get in the way. I had one of my petitioners, they took the petition out of his hand and scratched out all the numbers. You know, we could have really pursued that legally, because that, you know, but anyway, it was what you said. And I can think of so many incidents you weren't able to film because there was no camera there, Brian, but.
You have another question out here?
Yeah, bueno, hola, buenas tardes, buenas noches. Primero le quiero saludar a tu mamita Patti. Señor, ha hecho muy buen trabajo con su hija. Felicidades. And just a quick translation, I just want to give up to Patti that, you know, sharing the sacrifice of her mother and why she is the woman that she is. It's, you know, the love of mother, really. I know I do everything with the mother's heart, and so do you, Patti. So I do, Lucy Molina from Commerce City. I do want to, you know, I have a lot of coraje. This is the second time I get to watch this film. I'm very thankful to every single one of you, and I'm very honored to know pretty much everyone up there. I think I know pretty much everyone up there. Gracias por todo. I have a question. I guess you said maybe two. One for you, Patty, and one for you, Brian. Patty, you mentioned about a family, the person that was supposed to show up with you at the daily. Era Raza? Yeah. So my question is on that. As you know as well, I fight environmental racism and mostly try to advocate in our Latino community. For that family, I'm sure there's many other families in your community like that. 6 years, you said, right, Ryan? Brian, you've been doing this stuff. Since 6 years, how do you feel? Is more positive response from the Latino community in your hood or in your barrio? Is there more hostility, or how is your feeling? Es para ti. And second for Brian, just so I could get him out of the way, is 50 screenings. Will it be translated, and will there be Spanish?
We're working on
Spanish ones in there. All right, es todo. Gracias.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, this is the world premiere. I had some like work in progress screenings, so I haven't experienced. I mean, so far it's been really well received, and we are working right now on Spanish subtitles so we can start sharing it with Spanish-speaking community, and that will be March 19th in Fort Collins at the library, one of the libraries in Fort Collins. It's on the website. So that'll be the premiere of the Spanish subtitles that we're working together on. So thanks.
Yeah, we're excited about that. So the woman that I mentioned in the film, she was a mom, and what ended up happening is she got threatened by her brothers, and that was the experience that she was going to share with the producers of The Daily Show. When the day came, she lied to her husband about where she was going. She told him that she was gonna go like grocery shopping or something. She never gave the producers of the show her real name, and she only agreed to do the interview in complete anonymity. So she wanted her voice changed, she wanted her face not to show, because that is the kind of things, that's kind of harassment that people receive. I mean, I'm trying to raise alarms that there's still emissions happening at my son's school, and the local government and the school are trying to discredit me as a professional. Like, it doesn't stop for us. And that's like the real thing, is, Lucy and I were just talking the other day, is like, it's difficult, but it is motivation. Like, we have to go back home to this. And so, a lot of the times films feel far away because they're happening around the world, or, it's from a long time ago, but we have to realize that this is happening right here, right now.
Folks, this is such an important film and such an important issue. We could talk all night, and I would love to continue the conversation. I think we have one more short question out here in the audience. One more? Yes.
I hope this is on. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
First off, I want to say thank you, and I really appreciate this beautiful film that you made, but mostly your dedication, because really, your power and your strength of standing up to what's going on is about your water life, which, the water is getting poisoned as we speak all over this country, everywhere, by mining and by fracking and by all kinds of threats. And the sad part, as I was watching the film, is that the political leaders are making these decisions that are impacting your lives, your children, your communities. And it's so misplaced. The people that live in your communities should have the power to say no, to veto something that's an environmental threat. Where's the environmental consciousness, And I don't know so much as I have a question, but I just wanted to say thank you. And I wanted to acknowledge you because it's really beautiful, and I think that your film will touch a lot of people, not just here in Colorado, but all over, that are struggling with the same things. Ivan and I came down from South Dakota. We were really involved in the DAPL fight up in Standing Rock, and that's to protect the water life. And we're all in this together, really, all of us. And we're all deeply affected by what happens to not just the water, the air, the earth. There were many spiritual messages that came through at camp because the Lakota have, well, all people can have connection to dreams. We all have a spirit. But the spirits really said the oil is killing and polluting everything. It's poisoning Mother Earth, the air, the animals, the plants. It's making everything sick. So you guys are warriors, and I thank you. You're protectors. And I really, really hope that you can continue to draw in your neighbors and your communities and the people in your state to really open their eyes, what's at stake. So, I thank you and send my love to you and appreciation. It was really powerful to watch what you've been through, and I'm so sorry that you've had to have that fight. I did notice one thing I wanted to say. The power in watching this movie is when you all said at some point in the movie that you went and tried to recall your leaders, then they changed. Did you notice that? How powerful that was? Because that's where the point of the problem is. It's with your leaders. They're the ones making these decisions that are impacting, millions of people? And your health directly, your life, your future. So continue the good fight, and thank you. And that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you.
Thank you. The fight continues.
Folks, I love how your website is safeandhealthycolorado.org. Instead of fighting phrase of some kind or, we're going to win next time, you're focusing on what's really important, the safety and health of Colorado. And that comes right back to the love that this is all founded on. And I think that's really important. I'm going to repeat a couple of things that just need repeating from your film. Change is not linear. It builds on all our individual choices to show up. It compounds over time until we reach a tipping point. We only lose when we stop trying. We just haven't won yet. And I love that positive, can-do, keep at it attitude. So thank you very, very much.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. Go ahead and subscribe, like this video, and check out earthdogfilms.com for more exclusive content.